All high-level forehands have one technical element in common that takes place very shortly before contact with the ball is made, and that is the lifting of the non-dominant leg. So in today's video, we're going to get into why this is taking place and if this is something that you should be doing on your forehand. First, let's discuss why the non-dominant leg is lifting on the forehand. And we have to take a look at the preparation stage to understand why this is happening. So high-level forehands will most of the time have a loading position where the torso is slightly bent down. And this particular lifting of the non-dominant leg will only occur on forehands that are struck from the dominant leg. Obviously, if we load the non-dominant leg, it cannot lift in the air. So on forehands that are struck from the dominant leg, players will load in this particular way. They will bend the torso slightly down, creating a V formation between the upper body and the dominant leg. So when the forehand is loaded in this particular fashion, our body weight is a little bit off center. So if this is the center of my body and I load my forehand this particular way, my body weight will be more towards my dominant side. So now when I accelerate my stroke and I begin to drop the racket, this front foot will start to lift. It will not get off the ground yet. So as I drop my racket, my weight will shift even more to this side. And then as I approach the contact naturally, as I begin to straighten my body, my non-dominant leg will lift off the ground. And this lifting momentum accompanied by the body's rotation can provide us with additional power. And it's not only that, we can also help the swing path. So if we have a vertical swing path, the lifting of the body can help the racket go up. And this type of lifting momentum also works on a forehand that's struck from the non-dominant leg. So if I load my body in this position the same way, if I bend the torso slightly down and create this V formation between my non-dominant leg and the torso, and now when I lift, I get the same type of effect as I would if I hit a forehand from the dominant leg. The only difference here is because I'm loading the non-dominant leg, it will not be able to get off the ground. But what happens then is that the back leg, which would be my dominant leg, will then in the same way go off the ground as I'm very close to the contact. It will get off the ground, and usually what happens is as I continue my swing, the back leg will wrap around this way. And the lifting of the non-dominant leg not only helps with the swing path, but it can also help us with the finish. So when we approach the contact and that leg starts to begin to get off the ground, now because it's off the ground, we can then pull the racket across the body, and this leg will usually go backwards a little bit to accommodate the swing path. And the best way to set up a forehand like this is to have the dominant leg slightly behind the non-dominant leg. So this is the absolute perfect setup for the forehand if you're going to hit it off the dominant leg. Because now what happens is as we approach the contact and this leg lifts up in the air, now it has space to pull back if we get a very aggressive ball from the other side. So this looks something like this. As I'm approaching the ball, it lifts up and now I can pull it backwards and I have more space to be able to finish my shot. See, if I didn't lift my leg, let's say my legs were stuck on the ground and I tried to finish very strongly, I wouldn't be able to rotate as much because my non-dominant leg would be blocking my finish. So is this something that you should be doing consciously? Not at all. I don't want you to start lifting your leg on your forehand. It will occur naturally if you load the forehand the right way. So let me show you how that works. So I'm going to be in the position that I described before. and I'm going to bend my torso down, and I'm going to accelerate really fast. You see, naturally, as I accelerate, my torso straightens, that non-dominant leg goes up in the air without me being ever conscious of it. Let me try a couple more. So I'm going to accelerate upwards and see that leg just lifts up completely on its own. And the important takeaway from today's lesson is that you should try to load your forehand in the most optimal way, which is to slightly lean towards the hitting side of your body, which is, on a right-handed player, would be the right. So you simply lean down as you're setting up your forehand. Now, when it comes to how to position your feet, I have a separate video titled Open Stance versus Closed Stance. You can take a look. It describes in detail when to select to hit an open stance forehand. But I don't really use those terms. I want you to think about hitting the forehand either off your non-dominant leg, which for right-handers would be the left leg, or from the dominant leg. Now, on forehands that are struck with a lot of penetration on the incoming ball, these are going to be struck from the dominant leg. We're going to simply wait for the ball in this position, and we're going to strike it from this side. When this is taking place, and this will take place at the high level on 90% of the forehands, we're going to lean on this side. And now naturally what happens, because our dominant leg is set a little bit further back than the non-dominant leg, now this non-dominant leg has space to go back to accommodate the swing path. And this is where this loading plays a huge factor, because now, because we're loading this way, this leg is going to lift into the air, and now the violent torso rotation will bring the non-dominant leg backwards, and this only accommodates the stroke, enabling the player to hit a very aggressive forehand. And it's important that you don't execute any of the movements of the non-dominant leg consciously, because they will be forced, and more importantly, you will make these movements with the wrong timing, and this will not help your forehand. What you have to do is simply set up the forehand in the most optimal way, and then the lifting momentum and the body's rotation will allow you to finish your forehand very aggressively.